We have seen no change in the level of the river here since we were here last. It's more than halfway up the doors here on that first floor as you try to enter those rooms from there. You can see the water is rushing through here as it comes off of Valley Drive. We got a call from a gentleman who is the president of Atlas Industries down there on Valley. He wanted to know what kind of shape his building was in. I'll tell you now, George, your building is not in very good shape at all. Now we're going to try to fly over, again, the waterworks facility. This is the big story here. This is, of course, Fleur Drive. Well, the water is probably, 6 feet deep there, well up into the trees. And now we're making a quick swing over Waterworks Park toward the waterworks facility. Again, we have not seen much change in the level of the Raccoon River here. I can tell you that Gary Amble let us know that overnight, only 1/4 to 1/2 inch of rain fell in the Raccoon River Basin, which is extremely good news compared to what had been forecast earlier. So perhaps we'll see some recession here at some point. This should give you a pretty good view of what exactly happened here at the waterworks. I believe it's probably the levee right there, Michael. You can see where that earth has been compromised in the levee. That must be where the water came over. And in fact, all around that levee was compromised by the Raccoon as it came over again 1 o'clock Sunday morning. It came right into the treatment facility, wiped the place out. Again, just so people know exactly what needs to be done here. The water's got to receive some point so that they can levee around this facility. They can pump the water out, re-sanitize the facility, and again be able to treat our water so we can flow to the taps. That's going to take about a week at best guess, according to Dr. McMullen, the director of Waterworks. Now we're flying back toward the station because it's almost time for us to touch down here with our last hour with the copter cam here on TV 13. But again, that is the story of this flood so far. I know we've said it over and over and over, John and Kim, but that is the deal. That's the worst part of this entire flood is a week's worth of life without water from the tap for up to 300,000 people in several communities. Let's go right down here, Michael. Again, this is the river bridge, and it has closed. It seems as though the water has gone down a little bit. There's a bit of siltation right where the water meets the road, Michael. There's a little bit of siltation which was up further, so it seems as though the water has packed off there a tad. That's about the only way we can gauge what the river is doing here. It's not nearly as turbulent coming out of that valve under the bridge. So the water perhaps has gone down here a bit, which is of course very good news. But as far as around the waterworks facility, if it has gone down, it hasn't gone down a heck of a lot.
Jim, you've been up there now a good portion of the day. Would you say that the Raccoon is in worse condition than the Des Moines River? Or can you even say that?
You know, that's hard to judge. Dollar-wise, I wouldn't think so, Kim, because there's so much money involved in all of that industry around 2nd Avenue. Okay, apparently Brad Oak, my engineer, is telling me we're going to lose the signal, and we have another chopper on our helipad here. So we're going to let you go, guys. We'll be on the ground here in probably a minute, and I'll come in and give you warning.
All right, and that was a very good prediction as to when they were going to lose the signal.
He said it, didn't he?
Right on the minute. We're going to take a break here, and we'll show you some pictures of sandbagging in West Des Moines as we leave.
I like grilled chicken, but you know what I like best about it? All the great things you can put on top.
Introducing Wendy's Deluxe Chicken Grill. It's a tasty combination of sautéed onions and mushrooms in barbecue sauce, plus mozzarella, served on a special multi-grain bun. A chicken sandwich for people who love chicken with a lot of flavor.
Sautéed onions, mushrooms, barbecue sauce, mozzarella, and a multi-grain bun. Wow!
Come try Wendy's new Deluxe Chicken Grill today.
Did you know Texaco puts System 3 in every grade of gasoline?
System 3 gets high marks in every grade, which is a lot better than I ever did.
My dad says Texaco puts System 3 in every grade. I'm in the 4th grade.
Of course! That's why I always fill up with System 3. What do I look like? Don't say it.
Visit your Texaco station.
I can get the tires rotated, the car lubed, and still get home in time for the game.
Mow the lawn.
For unbeatable System 3 gasolines and so much more.
Mow the lawn.
Mow the lawn.
When you get home from work,
make Live at 5 your first choice for news.
And weather.
More pictures now as we pan down of the fight and West Des Moines, Valley Junction, trying to sandbag some of the water, trying to keep the waters away. We are joined now by Mayor Pat Dorian, and we want to turn immediately over to talk to the mayor. How are you holding
It's been a long day for you, hasn't it?
It has been a long evening, long day.
Yeah.
It's been a long day and a long evening for everyone, including yourselves.
Give us a feel for what the situation is at this point.
Well, this afternoon, I had to continue in the state of emergency, ask for people not to try to go to work tomorrow. The downtown area in particularly, there are no functioning street lights, there is no electricity, there is no water to flush toilets, there is no potable water for drinking. The access, ingress and egress to downtown Des Moines is very limited as far as streets. As you know, the Southwest 7th is now closed, so it would be virtually impossible for people to try to get to work, let alone when they got there, what would they do? So we've joined with the business community in issuing to the community that do not try to come. The business community will ask for the employees that they need for an emergency operation.
It's a skeleton crews if they have to.
Correct.
You'd even prefer to have no one.
Correct.
Did you have any idea that it was going to end up like this, Mayor Dorian? I mean, we've been saying all day, this has been such a shock, really.
No one could have planned for this. It's something that is just virtually impossible to ever plan for. And you know, we had the levee system in place. We thought it was more than adequate, and then it was not. So I think there's just so many different factions that come into play here that you can't plan for.
Have you been able to see some of these pictures? I'm sure you've been running around and busy, and I'm sure you've captured some of the sites, but we want to show some more here.
Yeah.
It's just astounding.
Actually, I was up in a helicopter with the city manager just less than an hour ago and looking at the flood situation, and from the air it is much more devastating than when you're driving alongside it down at ground level. So it's,
maybe you can assess for us where you think some of the worst damage is at this point.
Well, the worst damages is still possibly yet to come with the until we crest. We can't tell if the water continues to back up against the bridges, and then it acts as a dam itself and can continually cause flooding. Even though the Army Corps of Engineers has decreased the amount of the output in the pipe, so in the conduit up there, it's going over as fast as it comes in, and if there is additional rain, we have not seen the end of it yet.
And what about the bridges downtown, sir? Is there any problem? What is the Army Corps of Engineers saying about those bridges?
Actually, we have our own engineers that have assessed them for a long period of time. They are a very solid structure. They're earth-filled. We had even the additional weight of the barricades from the Grand Prix on top of them, which added to the strength of those bridges. So we really feel that those bridges they're there to stay.
We mentioned earlier, as a sidebar to all of this, just some of the business that Des Moines is losing from conventions and meetings that were scheduled here. You're having to tell them to go elsewhere.
That's correct.
There are so many side effects of this storm.
There are so many side effects that a lot of people wouldn't even dream about the convention business and tourism But really, the community is pulling together with Polk County and the state. We've had a tremendous amount of support from the governor and all of his staff, from the National Guard, from Red Cross, volunteers. That Polk County has really pitched in and pulled with us, and I've spent most of the evening and the day with a couple of the council members, Preston Daniels and Jack Porter, have been on top of it all the way through, as other council members have been, and it's a concerted effort, and people are pulling together. I was asked a question: where are the people going that you're having to evacuate? Well, we don't have massive centers for these people because the type of community this is, they're going to friends' homes, relatives' homes. They're not having to end up in school gymnasiums sleeping on cots. They're taken into homes, and it's just even though that it is a disaster, there's a warm feeling about the cooperation and the acceptance of the community and working together to overcome it.
Excuse me. Let's talk a little bit. I think what our viewers are most concerned about, Mayor, is of course the drinking water and the electricity. What are you hearing about when we are going to get all of this back?
Okay, those are the two things that we concentrated on first. Water, potable water was first, and that's where the Polk County, Des Moines, and the Guard. That they concentrated on that. We had the support from people like A.E. Dairy, and I shouldn't have started naming names because I can't.
That's
Don't
okay.
start there, because you won't be able to.
Say numerous people,
numerous
right?
people have volunteered their trucks, their equipment. We've had an awful lot of union people that are manning telephones and operating equipment, and the water is probably paramount right now, having enough water. And the other is sanitation to us, and third is electricity.
Do you have a grasp for a time frame on the water? McMullen has been saying it would take at least a week. Is that?
And he's saying take a week to get water that for emergency.
Yes.
That would be sprinkler systems in buildings and to be able to flush toilets and things like that. Drinking water could be quite some time after the week.
I heard something even maybe upwards of a month before we'd have drinking water again.
It could be correct. It could be correct. So, you know, we have our fire department, our police department, all of our public works crews, everyone in city and county and state government is working towards an eventual end. But we are prepared to put out fires. Naturally, we couldn't put out a fire in a large office building downtown. That's why we really would not like to see people in there at this time.
To this point, there have been no deaths.
That's an amazing thing. There were
the bright spot, isn't it?
Dr. Reuter said that there were 7, but none were flood related. So that really is evidence of the people that are working together to overcome this.
And the electricity, any word on how quickly we might get that back?
According to Midwest Resources, it's going to take about the same amount of time for the electricity as the water.
Okay.
And part of it is dependent on, too, if we get additional rain where their substations continue to fill up, some of their switching that they've done, there'll be a one-time switch. And if that gets flooded out, then we're done for a longer period of time.
Let me ask you, what are you hearing from other communities outside of our state? Are you hearing from federal officials? Is aid coming to us?
Really, we have heard from mayors and surrounding communities and council members that, you know, tell us what you need, let us help. We've had motels and Ames, things like that, inviting our people to come at a discount rate. Things really are coming together, but we're totally dependent now on the news media to get the word out for us, because the newspaper is going to be a very limited edition coming from printed in Indianola, an 8-page. We're going to have news conferences, and your people have been there. Your WTO Radio has done an excellent job of. They keep me informed, by the way, on a lot of things. So that we're going to be dependent on you folks to get the word out as to where the water is, how the water is, where the electricity is or is not, street closings, and we really appreciate what you've done and hope that you're able to keep it up.
I just want to touch back on the time frame here, because I know that is really, as Ken was mentioning, uppermost in everybody's mind, and it's impossible to nail it down.
Impossible.
But we are talking a possibility of weeks then.
Yes, we are.
For restoration to suburban areas as well.
We have to look at the Davenport situation where they expected it to crest, it crested, and then it crested again. That same type of thing could happen to us if more water falls in either one of the basins, the Raccoon or the Des Moines Basin north of us.
Yeah, and that's what people, I think, have to keep in mind, that it doesn't necessarily have to fall here in Des Moines proper for us to face the consequences, and that's what we're kind of fighting at this point as well.
Very accurate assessment.
Mayor Dorian, thank you very much. We know this has been a very long day, and it's just getting longer, isn't it? It just isn't ending for you.
We've got a few days to go here before anyone's going to relax.
Well, I'm sure we'll touch base with you many times before all of this is over, and thanks for all of your help.
Thanks for having me.
Mayor Pat Dorian, our thanks to him. It's sobering news, though, isn't it?
Yes, it is. To think that the drinking water situation may be like that, of course, as the mayor has said, and we've gotten some reports in. Now, we're not talking about not having sanitized water. It just would not be suitable for drinking. So you could use it in your home on a regular basis, as he was saying. They would be there for flushing toilets and for showering and for washing clothes and all of that.
Most likely it will come in stages as well, and of course it's all dependent on whether or not we get more rain and what that happens. As the mayor was mentioning, Davenport crested, and then
Yeah,
it crested
right.
again, and just when you start thinking that it's over.
Yeah, we'll have to be very careful as we move into these stages, though, because I think all of us will start to forget the situation and how dangerous it might be yet, and we'll get a little overzealous, so we'll all have to work together to make sure that we're very safe in what we do.
Rick Silvestrini has been standing by patiently, and we want to get to him now.
You know, Kim and John, the Grand Prix officials said they needed about 18 more hours and they could have gotten everything in. Obviously, that did not happen, and all the Grand Prix officials are very disappointed, but they are coping with the situation.
Grand Prix workers spent the day tearing down the course. That's all they could do, with 3 races wiped out because of the flood. It'll be some time before officials tabulate the loss, but it will be substantial and could jeopardize the future of the Grand Prix.
Well, obviously, this has been a financial loss to us, having to not operate today. So it'll have an additional financial impact on the Grand Prix. As to the future, we'll see what happens there. Obviously, we'll need some assistance from various people or various institutions to keep it going in the future.
Pesanovsky says ticket holders will not be awarded refunds. However, the Grand Prix board is expected to meet in the near future and could change that policy. Despite the mess, there is a silver lining. Many SCCA volunteers helped city officials sandbag, and the concrete barriers normally used on the race course are now being used to hold back water.
We had some workers last night that as we had to start tearing down the fence on the bridges, we had some people upstream that were watching for debris coming down from a safety standpoint. We had some that came around to ask what else they could do, and they went down and helped sandbag. And so they've been, like I said, we had workers from 22 states this year. They're, of course, disappointed that we didn't have the race, but they certainly understand, and a lot of them just been asking for any way they could help out.
At this point, most of those volunteers are trying to find a way back home. Of course, they came from all over the country, over 20 states. They came here to help in Des Moines, and now they've been helping with other matters. We also want to mention, I know this isn't a time to really talk about sports, but if you would like to know the scores, would like to know what's going on, maybe to cheer you up, you can call our City Source hotline, 246-5600. That's 246-5600, category 2013, and you can get all the scores and any other sports information that we can pass along to you.
While you were down there talking to those folks with the Grand Prix, get any feeling for what this is going to do to the Grand Prix?
Well, as Jerry said in the soundbite that we just heard, it's going to be very devastating, and they are going to need help. But everything's going to have to be prioritized, and I'm not sure where the Grand Prix falls into all of that. Obviously, they have lost a lot of money. They're not going to know how long or how much money that they have lost, and it's going to be some time before they even know what they can do to recoup their losses. And keep in mind, the Grand Prix has never been on stable financial grounds. Right. So this does not help the situation out at all.
And the city would have to assess everything all over again, given all of this other calamity.
It's really going to be a mess. As a matter of fact, I asked them, how do you sort all of this out? And they said, well, it can be done and it will be done, but it's going to take some time. The board is going to have to meet here within the next few days and try to figure everything out and try to, with all the contracts and everything else that's involved in the Grand Prix, to sort things out and then go from there. So I think that's really the first step.
Okay. Thank you, Rick. Also with us here on the set is Jerry Reno. And before we take a break, we want to talk to you because you have, tell us, some encouraging news.
Well, yeah, you need a little lightness in all of this action. I was talking to Jim Zabel just a few minutes ago. He was telling me about the great flood of '93. There was no electricity or running water, and then I realized he meant 18.
Last century.
And
only the Z would remember.
No, we're only teasing, but we do have a little bit of good news, at least some time to reload. Take a look at the computer. Right now there's a cold front zapping through the state. Behind it, some nice, cool, less humid air. Down to the south of us, the hot, humid air. So for a moment, we're going to get lower temperatures and lower humidities, and that's a little bit of good news. The other good news, at least for those of us in Des Moines and upstream, is that river levels are falling. But let's start downstream because they've had some heavy thunderstorms in the Keokuk area. And as we go to Keosauqua, you can see that the flood level there is now at 30.1. Flood stage is 25 feet. And as you move on northward then up to Ottumwa, 21.4, flood stage 10 feet. Again, the pluses behind those numbers mean that the river is rising. But there's Red Rock, and as we get north of Red Rock, the numbers begin to change because they're followed by a minus sign. 31.5 in Des Moines, flood stage at 23. The river is falling. That's also the case in Van Meter, 24.8. flood stage 13. And as you move on up the Raccoon River, we have Jefferson, Iowa, 17.4, flood stage at 10. Fort Dodge, likewise dropping with that minus sign at 14.6, flood stage at 10. And it goes on and on as you head upstream to Algona, 15.5, flood stage at 14 feet. Now, tonight's forecast, again, mostly clear, turning cooler with a low near 60, and then tomorrow mostly sunny again with low humidity. We probably won't see renewed precipitation in here until probably Tuesday, but then the downside of that is, of course, there's a chance of storms right on into the end of the week. But we get a chance to reload.
And at this point, it appears that both the Raccoon and the Des Moines, as they enter the downtown area, are receding a bit.
Yeah, they are up above, that would be up above Saylorville, and of course out coming through West Des Moines. Those numbers are dropping, and that's good news.
Yes, it is good
Very
news.
good.
Let's take a break, and as we leave you, we're going to take a look at some more water over near 6th Avenue. We'll be back in just a bit. Stay with us.
He likes Milk and Show. He's got great muscle tone. He likes Milk and Show. And strong, healthy bones. She likes Milk and Show. Baby, soft skin, bright eyes, a healthy grin. She likes Milk and Show. Milk, it does her body good. With vitamin A to help keep eyes bright, calcium for healthy teeth, and protein to help build muscle. When you drink milk, it shows. He likes Milk and Show. It does her body good. He likes Milk and Show. It does her body.
What if someone were to design a car about the size of a Ford Taurus outside, but with more room for people than Taurus or Toyota Camry inside? Someone did. What if someone were to design a car with safety features Taurus and Camry don't give you, like both driver and passenger side airbags standard, or an available integrated child safety seat? Someone did. And what if a prestigious magazine were to name this car Automobile of the Year? One of them did. Dodge Intrepid. This changes everything.
Watch for live lottery drawings on TV 13 beginning July 12th.
This is a live picture of sandbagging at University and Ohio, and the work continues tonight.
Have a little piece of information to pass on to you, and this is just an example of how everyone is working together to try to alleviate some of the problems that we're facing. The National Guard flying in water purification units that were used in Desert Storm from North Dakota. They're going to arrive tomorrow at the Air Guard, and hopefully those can be put into use immediately and start to help some people around the area. As the mayor was saying, looks like as far as drinking water is concerned at this point, it could be quite some time before we're ready to deal with that.
Therese Thompson is standing by live now with a report for us. Therese?
John and Kim, we've got some volunteers and some employees of Midwest Acoustical down here sandbagging.
And Kennedy and Company.
And Kennedy and Company, doing a lot of hard work down here trying to prevent the Des Moines River from coming up into their property here. Bill, tell us, how many loads is this now, sandbags for you?
I'd say we're probably at a good 20 loads right now, maybe a few more. We got quite a few loads coming in here, and we're going down on East 18th and Market and getting our sandbags. They got a lot of volunteer people working down there, and we're really appreciative of it, because if they weren't doing that, we wouldn't be able to do any of this. And that's where we're getting all our sandbags from.
You said before, Kevin, if we could take a look at all the hard work these folks are doing over here. You said before you thought maybe you were fighting a losing battle. I know you told me the water's been coming up fast.
Yes, the water's still coming up, and I don't know when it's going to stop. I just hope to God we don't get any more rain, because if we do, I don't know what's going to happen. It looks bad. I mean, you go down here and look down in University, and you see all that water shooting up out of them manholes, and that water's got to come up to the level where that water's coming out of them manholes right now. And if that's the case, we're going to be underwater here.
Okay, yeah. Well, good luck to you. I know you guys are working hard, and we'll be here with you. Thanks a lot for joining us. We want to show you some of the other water that is down here right now. This has been creeping up slowly as we've been down here for the last couple of hours or so. Bill's pointing something out to me, Kevin. Maybe we can walk over here just a little bit and show it. There's a street sign way down. There's a truck that's, what's that, a half-ton pickup, Bill?
It's a one-ton.
A one-ton pickup or truck, completely buried down there, and there's a street sign right down there that give you a good idea of how high the water is here. And it is inching further and further up. A lot of debris is piling up in this area. As you can imagine, all that kind of debris is coming up under the bridges of the Des Moines River as well. We are just north of the post office. And Jim Strickland mentioned something in his live shot earlier about delivering the mail, rain, snow, sleet, hail, or flood. Well, Orflood is included. I was just over there talking with those folks, and they said they are doing just fine. They're dry as a bone in there. In fact, they don't have water in there. They don't have water at all. They've got some Kaibos out back to help the workers get through the night. So we're live down here at 2nd and Ohio. We're just north of the post office. We'll be here watching what the folks are doing down here to try to save Midwest Acoustical and Kennedy and Company. John and Kim?
Okay, thank you very much, Therese. We want to go over some closings here now.
Yeah, a reminder that there will be no bus service in the city tomorrow, and that we don't have any time as to how long that might last, but we do know that they had to evacuate their property, and they are now temporarily set up at Lincoln High School, so it may be some time before bus services
a lot of businesses will be closed downtown, as Mayor Dorian mentioned when he was with us just moments ago. The request went out really because of the limited ability to really provide anything for people downtown. They are asking businesses to have just skeletal crews, and many are closed completely. We have a full screen of many of those businesses, and perhaps we could turn to that now. But Principal will be closed unless called. And if you are downtown, you can check in with your employer as to whether or not you will be working at Principal.
Ruan will be closed. High-rises will be closed. As the mayor was saying, there's no sprinkler systems in the high-rises, so actually it can be very dangerous to be inside those high-rises. U.S. West, you need to speak to your supervisor to find out if you need to come in tomorrow, and all federal operations will be closed.
Capitol Square is closed. Boatman's Building closed. Dyco Company closed. Polk County Administration Building as well. The courthouse closed. All elections offices will be closed. And you can see these carpenter unions and the senior citizen meal sites closed, and youth and victim services.
Actually, John, they're telling us now that this is on Carpenter. Those are businesses at those locations that will be closed.
On Carpenter, and they are closed. And the youth and victim services, as scheduled, public works custodial staff at 7 a.m.
All Iowa State Bank offices in the Des Moines area will be closed. Drake University will not be holding classes. AIB will not be holding classes. Public Works will be on a regular sanitation schedule tomorrow, which is...
Yes, they are to report at 7 a.m.
Yeah, that's some good news, isn't it? Did we have Northwest Bank? I don't think we did announce.
Northwest Bank announcing downtown location at 7th and Walnut will be closed until further notice. City crews, only essential personnel employees, and we mentioned Public Works custodial staff will be reporting at 7. Evacuations have been running smoothly to this point. That is good news, and as the mayor reported too, there have been no deaths accorded to flooding.
Which is so very fortunate. Something else we want to mention, Methodist Medical Plaza will be closed tomorrow. Mercy Hospital will only be performing emergency surgery tomorrow. All regularly scheduled surgeries have been canceled until further notice.
All Iowa State Bank offices in Des Moines will be closed on Monday. As we go through here,
Meredith
Methodist
Corporation?
Yes, Meredith, go ahead.
I just announced this one. Meredith Corporation closed in downtown. Meredith West is going to be open in West Des Moines. Let's see.
U.S. West, I think we mentioned before, the Central Services are to report to work.
Postal Service is going to do their best to have regular mail service tomorrow. I'll tell you what, if they can have regular mail service, I'm going to take my hat off to those folks. They're going to be doing quite a job, aren't they?
As Therese said, they are there tonight working, and they are going to be trying to move the mail as usual tomorrow. They also said that earlier if there was express mail and business mail that needed to be moved, they were going to know better tomorrow about noon as to how they can get through flooded areas.
We were talking about the universities and colleges and so forth being closed. Grandview College not holding classes tomorrow either.
Drake closed as well. Stacia Strand did a report for us at one of the Hy-Vee stores.
Yeah, talking about how people are in there trying to get their hands on some water. Let's take a look at how things were going.
This is 2:30 a.m. at Tate Super Value on 42nd and University. Shoppers searching for water, a commodity in short supply.
Here we are, almost an hour later, still filling up.
I've worked here for 2 years and it's never been this busy, ever. It's never, ever been this busy at night.
Now it's Sunday morning about 6:30. People flock to nearby communities looking for water. But by now, shelves are bare at this Hy-Vee in Urbandale.
And I think it'll probably straighten up in a few days. I sure hope so.
This purified water is all that's left, and nothing lasts forever. Although this is purified water, Hy-Vee officials are still recommending that you boil the water before drinking it, just as a precautionary measure. In shopping carts, people grab plastic containers for as much water as they can score, but milk and juice ran out early in the day.
Let's see, I've been here since 5:30, and this is probably about the 20th time I filled it.
Any chance it's going to run out?
That's it right there. You're looking at all the orange juice I've got.
I notice you have no water in the cart.
There is no water, and we were up at 3 o'clock, and we've got everything that'll hold water at home, full of water. So hopefully that'll get us through a couple days till they get some in here.
Store employees say they've never seen anything like it.
We had all 13 registers going, and there were customers at least 6, 7 deep waiting to get checked out. And the line was all the way back by like aisle 14.
During the early morning hours, impatient shoppers didn't want to stand in hour-and-a-half-long lines.
What it amounted to is people were just getting impatient. A very skeleton crew working a Saturday night, Sunday morning, and probably somewhere in the area of 100 to 150 people waiting in line to check out, and people just started pushing on through.
Stores are working to bring in water, juice, and milk from surrounding communities. In Urbandale, Stacia Strand, News Center 13.
I think we want to go over an important list again. We did this about 12 hours ago, was it, for the first time?
We're still drying it, huh?
And I think most people probably know by now, but in case there are some who do not, there's not a more important list. So let's go into it in terms of which areas have unsafe water, have Des Moines water.
Des Moines, of course, Norwalk, Cumming, Urbandale, Clive, Windsor Heights, Warren County Rural Water, Waukee, Berwick, and Johnston, all with unsafe water tonight. If there's any water left in the tap, I know at my house there's nothing even left in the tap, but if anything is left in the tap, you need to boil that for at least 2 minutes before you would use it in any way.
As for safe water, West Des Moines, as they valiantly try to protect their treatment plant from flooding, that still is safe water. Bondurant has safe water, Grimes and Perry, Runnels, Ankeny, although Ankeny is under a water emergency, and Indianola has safe water, as does Pleasant Hill and Polk City in the immediate metro area.
Talking about safe water, the folks in Boone want to make sure that their water remains safe, and the police department, they're asking for sandbag volunteers at the City Water Treatment Center. What they're asking you to do is to drive as far as you can until you get to the water, and at the water's edge you'll actually be shuttled by boat over to the plant, and that's where they're sandbagging. Any help you could give those folks would certainly be appreciated. Also, in West Des Moines earlier in the day, they'd had an emergency center set up, and there were problems at that location, so they had to change their emergency center. It's now set up at Western Hills Elementary School. You can go there if you need a place to stay, if you're looking for water, maybe you want to just get a shower, whatever it might be. Western Hills Elementary School is the place that you need to go.
We can't overemphasize how critical the next 48 hours are in all of this as well. And the forecast is holding up to that point. But that doesn't mean we're over it either. The next 48 hours, as Mayor Dorian was telling us before, we're in a situation much like Davenport where we can't get overconfident about a break in the rain. And we're being told right now, we want to show you some areas that water is available. And we have a graphic too to assist us on that. But water is available in many areas around our city. It has been made available sometimes on a free basis and sometimes not.
If you need more information about water, you can call this water hotline 262-24 2544. Also, if you have fresh water and you want to distribute it, this number is not on the screen. It's 262-0098. Or if you are in need of fresh water, you can dial 262-5055.
People cooperating in both sides of that and equation, and those are numbers that you can call if you are in need of water, if you have water to provide. Jim Strickland was up various times today with a copter cam, and we have these dramatic pictures we want to show you again as he put together this report for us.
All right, Kim, we are flying very low now, just about 200-300 feet above Valley Junction here in West Des Moines. From this vantage point, you can see just how devastating this flood has been to the business district here. You can see the, over here, Michael, if you can, the telltale maroon awning to A.K. O'Connor's pub down there. Just to give you a vantage point of where we are, this is 5th Street, of course, in West Des Moines, Valley Junction, the main drag. If you can see that stop sign down there on that cross street, Mike, you can see how turbulent the water is here. It is moving quite rapidly. We have seen people in boats here. It looks like, I don't know, 2, maybe 3 feet deep at worst. I'll bet it's not 3 feet at this point. We see a car here for reference, and it's not quite up to the windows, and it's even more shallow here, maybe only 6 inches or so as we're flying over here. But again, it is very widespread throughout West Des Moines. We're looking at, I believe, the church where Scott and Allison Gregory Pope just got married, well, not just, probably 8 years ago now. That's seeing some trouble as well. Again, lots of gasoline in the water. We can't warn people enough. This guy who we saw body surfing on 2nd Avenue, you know, give yourself a break, folks. This is not supposed to be a circus. This is not supposed to be fun times. There is pollutants in this water. It is likely there is fecal material in this water. It is, you know, it's not meant to be screwed around with. Hey, there's snakes in this water. We heard from Mrs. Golay up there south of Saylorville many times when she was wading through water trying to get to her house, that there are snakes clearly visible in a flood. It's clearly deeper here than it was just over there. We're seeing more cars in the water here that are well past the wheel wells, almost up to the windows on the doors. This guy has a boat taken off the trailer now, the boat that's under the canvas there, and maybe pressed into service, although I would think he'd have to have his propeller trimmed pretty high up. The water is deep, but it's not quite deep enough to handle an inboard-outboard engine. And now we're flying over Sands Volleyball Club. Let's take a look at these volleyball courts here, Michael. Of course, this is volleyball season here. This is a private club. Soccer fields, several volleyball courts, all compromised. They're all gone. Don't know if they'd ever get it back. It's going to be a while anyway. It looks as though there's one soccer field that is not quite as affected as the rest. It looks like the miniature golf course up there is still okay. But again, the quick trip down there, it's Walnut Creek as well now as the Raccoon River. We haven't spoken quite enough about the Walnut Creek, but that too is providing some problems. However, we are happy to report, we can't really see it. Just come over to me, Mike. Just over my shoulder here is 63rd and Grand. The Walnut Creek is high here. We're just about to fly right over the top of it, but it is not over the levee to flood 63rd and Grand. You can recall the scenes from many years ago where the Pet Hospital down there and this True Value and Long John Silver's were all devastated by flooding from the Walnut Creek. That is not the case this time. However, Walnut Creek on the eastern exposure to Southwest 63rd is providing a problem. You can see the Texaco station down there further up. The Quick Trip is dry, although, of course, they're out of business. They have no access to their lot. The mini storage place down there is okay if you have stuff stored in the mini storage place there. That's okay, it looks like right now, although the floodwaters are perilously close as we now fly over into more turbulent air as well as flying over the turbulent waters here in West Des Moines. Here's some folks down right below us, Michael, right down below there in the red raft. You see them? That's about the only way to go. They're wading. They do have a small rubber boat there, but they're also wading in this water. Shouldn't be doing it. There's a swimming pool. I'm not sure if they're probably going to have to pump that out and start from scratch if flood water got into the pool. You don't want to swim in this stuff, I'll tell you that. And now we're coming back over, again, the main thoroughfare here in Valley Junction. 5th Street is just below our camera. You see the Napa Auto Parts store there. A canoeing down 5th Street. Again, lots of diesel fuel, lots of gasoline in the water here. It is as bad. You see the gazebo down there, Mike? Just a couple of nights ago, the chief of the fire department here, Randy Bracken in West Des Moines, was telling people it's time to sandbag and it's time to get out of here. He was standing on that gazebo and he was high and dry.
Nothing high and dry in Valley Junction at this point. Of course, that's Jim Strickland up in a helicopter taking a look at the city and all of the damage from up there. Mayor Dorian is saying that he had been up in a helicopter and said the same thing that we've said all day, that you really can't get a grasp at just how devastating this flood is until you get up there in the air and
the impact comes and you see the devastation firsthand. We're going to be hearing from Phil Scott, speaking of devastation and damage, in a bit. He's at 5th and Vine, and homeowners are assessing the damage there, so that'll be a few minutes on from now. We want to look at some numbers first.
These are really some very important numbers. This is a helpline. They're asking anyone who needs help to getting water or other kinds of help that they can call these numbers that you see here. They're also asking AFSCME members of the union, to call this number if they are available to help, to maybe take water out to those who are shut in or help those who need to get out of their homes or whatever it might be.
Tremendous work being done by the AFSCME union people. We congratulate them on that, and there is special need out there, and
that's right.
They are fulfilling that need. Lori Groves spent a good deal of time on Court Avenue. She filed this report. She thought she'd be in the celebrity all-star race, and instead she was covering some of the flooding on Court Avenue. Let's look at that report.
Stacks of sandbags, a futile attempt at stopping the inevitable on Court Avenue. Floodwaters are everywhere and rising. Mark Hand is one of the sightseers. He manages the French Quarter restaurant and says the damage inside is devastating.
What does it look like inside?
There's probably 8 feet of water. It's street level. It's completely full. Everything we owned is floating. I'd have to say it's a complete loss.
A shot from inside the French Quarter. You can see bottles floating, plants, things that used to hang several feet above customers' heads. And the river is still rising. Just south of the Court Avenue Bridge, look at the railroad overpass. You can see parts of the Birdland Marina docks stuck. And that's only part of the concern. Farther south, police and residents are bracing for the worst. Because the river is rising so fast, the primary concern right now is the safety of this levee. Des Moines police are blocking off an area just downstream from this, something they call a bubbler. Perhaps a weak spot in the levee, pouring out a lot of water right now. Authorities have been trying to warn sightseers off the levee, but the sight of the raging river proves to be too irresistible for many area residents. They're still walking along the levee. Police say that behavior, though, may not be tolerated too much longer.
Did you see the bubbler that she's referring to down? That is a scary sight to see that, and to know that there's a weak spot in that levee down there. Portable water available in Urbandale.
Yeah, potable water available now at these locations: the Urbandale Hy-Vee at 86th and Douglas, Casey's General Store at 86th and Meredith, and former Super Value at 70th and Douglas. These are some sites in Urbandale. We've mentioned several of them, I think, before, but these are for people who need water in Urbandale as that pressure goes and you find yourself without water from the tap.
We understand now that we have a report from Phil Scott. This is concerning residents checking out the damage in their homes along 5th and Vine down in West Des Moines.
You don't have to go up into a helicopter to get a view of the flooding in West Des Moines. In fact, we are up on some equipment right now that takes us up a few feet now with a business owner in the Valley Junction area. This is Dave Youngclass, who joined us now to talk about you. Just why are you up here?
Getting a bird's eye view.
Of what?
Of my brother-in-law's building and my building down here.
And tell me when you left it and why it is that you're coming back to keep such a close eye on it.
We left Saturday night, and we live just about 2 blocks north of here. They won't let us down here, and somebody told us we were going to take a canoe down here, but they said that it was pretty a lot of rapids and stuff in the area, so we just came up in the air here to look.
So are you able to tell much from this view?
No. Although it does look like it's gone down quite a bit from this morning.
And so what is your hope now for getting back in there?
Hopefully tomorrow morning. That's just my guess.
And how are you keeping track of what will happen next with the weather, and what is your strategy for getting things cleaned up?
I got no way of keeping track. I just listen to what they tell me.
Okay, so what happens next then for you?
Well, we'll probably get a portable generator, and I don't think the electricity is going to be on for quite a while. Get some fans and blow it out and do a lot of cleaning.
I just want to comment, we see expressions on faces that look very similar today. They're just, it's one of shock, it's one of grief, really. It's also one, I think, of just extreme tiredness. The mayor was with us, and you could just tell the man is exhausted, is completely understandable. But the enormity of this crisis is hitting home, and it's portrayed on the faces, I think.
That's so very true. We want to take a look at some of the closings, downtown business closings, again, update you on this situation. If you do work in the downtown area, it's being suggested that you check with your employer to even see if you will be working tomorrow. Principal is closed tomorrow. High rises downtown closed. US West, you want to talk to your supervisor before you make the trip downtown, and all federal operations will be closed.
Capitol Square closed. Boatman's building will be closed. The Dyco Company is closed. Polk County Administrative Building, all offices closed, as are the offices in the courthouse and all election offices, too.
The addresses that you see there on Carpenter, the businesses that are at each of those addresses will also be closed. Senior citizens meal sites will be closed, and youth and victim services will be as scheduled.
Public Works custodial staff will be working at 7 a.m. and as we said, there will be a garbage pickup as well too tomorrow morning.
That's right. Also, all Iowa State Bank offices will be closed, and Meredith will be closed here downtown, but the West Des Moines office will be open. Also, Norwest Bank at 7th and Walnut Street will be closed.
Just a brief look at some of the roads that were closed earlier today and have now been reopened. We've seen some of them as we've driven by too. Interstate 35 southbound has now been reopened. That was this afternoon. Interstate 35 northbound, Interstate 80 east and west. So really getting in and out of Des Moines through the interstate system is now very accessible. Highway 6 from Waukee to Adel, that had been closed last night, and that is now reopened as well. And Highway 169 Adel to I-80. So there has been at least an improvement in the situation in terms of travel in and out of Des Moines, although there are so many streets that still remain blocked inside the city itself.
The Wire is now, AP Wire is now reporting flood warnings continue through the middle of next week for the Raccoon River system and the Des Moines River below Saylorville and Red Rock. So, as we've said 100 times, while this water is going down, those flood warnings remain, and that water from the north will continue to come down. And if we do get the rain that Jerry Reno and Gary are saying we're going to get later in the week, unfortunately, the situation is going to continue.
Jerry Reno was passing along too. Though it's out of our viewing audience, we know how hard hit eastern Iowa has been, and down in southeastern Iowa and Keokuk they have a severe thunderstorm warning tonight, and a flash flood warning are in effect and for Lee County. And so it continues in parts of Iowa, even if we are getting a respite right now.
Even funnel clouds spotted down in that area, so they're really getting hit hard again. I guess we should all thank our lucky stars that we see the sunshine out there at this point. Sandbagging. These efforts have been going on throughout the central Iowa area all day. Actually, a lot of it started last night. These were the folks over in Valley Junction, West Des Moines. They were building a fortress around the water treatment plant there in hopes of protecting that water treatment plant. Of course, West Des Moines being one of the only suburbs here in the metro area with safe water. Thousands turned out. We started to talk about this early this morning.
Because they came in shifts, and it must have added up to thousands. It was certainly hundreds at one time. And they got it into quite a system here, as you can see. Although that does take some of the work out of it, you're still on a constant part of that conveyor belt, and it got tiring, as they will attest to.
It was warm out there today, and everybody really did a super job. I know everyone was very appreciative. Flood hotline, 246-5600, category 1333 for updated information on the flood situation.
We have some pictures now to show you from last night, and this was as the flood waters were rising. And it'll be down along Railroad Avenue in West Des Moines.
Sandbaggers worked there for hours and hours and hours trying to build up this levee in hopes of saving Valley Junction and that lower area down there. And unfortunately, at about 8:30 last night, this gave way and the water started to rush into that area. And this was really what triggered all of this flooding down in the Valley Junction area. But these folks, lots of National Guard members and lots of residents, really did some back-breaking work down there to try to save that area.
Yeah, this may be on the Des Moines side of 63rd, but the work went on and on and on, and in the end to no avail. We were talking earlier about how discouraging that is and how difficult it is to fight back from that, and then to take your resources and transfer them over to another effort like protecting, as is so very important, that water treatment plant in West Des Moines.
A lot of frustration had to have been felt by those folks after they had worked so hard. Look at the way the water is rushing, though. It was a scary situation. It must have been obvious to many of them that there was a chance that this was not going to work.
Really some of the first indications, too, as to how serious this was going to be. But even at that point, I don't think many people realized the extent and the enormity of the flood.
What was still to come? How many, what did we say, John? Some 1,400 guards?
1,450 guardsmen. That was early this morning. I don't know if it's been added to or not. And Colonel King had told Guard members to be near a phone if they were to be contacted to join that number. But at that point, there were 1,450.
That, of course, being all